The cerebral cortex has 14 to 16 billion neurons and has axons that connect the cortex to other regions of the brain. The cortex looks like two giant walnuts set side by side together and has over 30 billion nerve cells. As we all know, there is a prefrontal and frontal lobe to the cerebral cortex. The prefrontal deals with behavior, impulse control, and personality, and the frontal deals with speaking, judgment, and organization. The frontal lobe is behind the forehead and deals with thinking, planning, judgment, and moving. With those being said, we wouldn't be able to make day-to-day decisions or hard life decisions because the most complex ones come from the frontal cortex. With that being said, our judgment zone, whether it's complex or simple, come from there. Our speaking, memories, and word formation comes from the frontal lobe as well. The prefrontal deals with behavior, impulse control, and personality. Now with behavior, it's all a mental capacity thing, as the prefrontal helps us make the decisions, like the frontal lobe, to get us to act on our behavior and impulse control. When it comes to personality, our prefrontal cortex helps us build our personality, and without it, we wouldn't have our own. A famous example is Phineas Gage. When he got hit on a railroad track from an explosion with a pole, went right through the prefrontal cortex through his head, leaving a giant hole. It didn't kill him, yet it altered his personality forever. From that point on, he was going from an optimistic person to a pessimistic person and couldn't make the best of choices and decisions, and used his fame to move across the country. The frontal cortex and prefrontal cortex act as a control panel for the rest of our brain. All of our processing and stuff starts here and works its way through all the lobes. Emotional expressions, along with sexual behaviors, form in the frontal cortex because of our judgment, personality, and impulse control. We refer to it as the superego because it works together with all of our choices to create our egos along with our personalities. In the cerebral cortex, the prefrontal and frontal are not fully developed until the third decade of our life, which means that it's still maturing and growing the older we get. As you can see in the slide, I have a picture of the skull of Phineas Gage and a photo of him and what he looked like after the accident. One of his eyes was closed permanently, and he changed his complete wardrobe and everything, which obviously you can't see in the video. His skull is set up at Harvard, and then it was transported to a museum in Boston where it is now located. Above that, I have a brain with the 4 lobes, part of the cerebral cortex, and above that is an exact replica of where the frontal and prefrontal cortex are located behind the forehead.